It's time to review a couple of awesome football games on the PlayStation 1. Games that I remember so well when I was in my youth. LMA Manager and LMA Manager 2002. These games hold a lot of nostalgia for me, and I still kinda remember how to play them today. But back then, not just me, but a whole host of my friends played this to the death, as well as all the other playable football games such as FIFA and the ISS series. So let's begin this review with the older version that I own, LMA Manager. Knowing that I had an international superstar soccer mind on at the time, seeing this intro was a huge experience. It doesn't seem so appealing today, since we have the latest Pro Evolution soccer games that boast excellent graphics, but back when it was first developed and released by Codemasters in 1999, it was mind-blowing to see these graphics. I can remember begging my parents to buy this for me for Christmas, and when I got it, I had hours upon hours of enjoyment playing it. When you start a new game, you get a choice on whether you want to tackle a challenge or a full game. Normally I would choose the full game just to keep things simple, but with challenges you get a choice of different scenarios for whichever club you choose to manage, such as Goal Heaven, Spend, Home Ground Glory, National Cup Champions, The Double, Beat the Drop, Title Race, Final Countdown, Straight Up Gov, where you have to manage a club from the 3rd Division and win the Premiership, and the Ultimate Challenge. Finally, once you type in your manager's name, in this example I'm using my YouTube name here, it's time to play the game. Some of the features you can do to your team while you play the game are pretty much the basic stuff, not like these other current gen manager games such as Football Manager 2003 where you have so much to think about, including press conferences and all that shit. I say the older it is, the basic it is, the better it is. Blue Tonic 78 will back me up on that one, right? However, these features that I'm talking about range from making offers for players, putting players on the transfer lists, editing your squad lineup, building your stadium, scouting players, taking a look at the manager's objectives, and much, much more. One feature of the game that totally overwhelmed me when I first laid eyes on it was an actual visual showing 3 guys drawing numbers out for a cup competition. This is just awesome. It's so disappointing, however, that something as good as this is never seen on any other managerial franchise today. If Codemasters was to come back and bring out a current gen LMA Manager game, please have something like this, because if this can look amazing on a PS1 game, imagine what it would look like with some of the graphic engines that we have today. I can actually imagine the Master League mode in PES adding something similar to this as well. It would be so epic. I'd buy it.
Number 16. Kilmarnock.
But going back to the game's typical features, you can choose which players you want to buy for your club by going to a series of tabs on the interface, whether it's searching for players who are out of contract, placed on the transfer list, shown within their respective clubs, or showing some of the most expensive players on the game. You can also sell players you don't need as well, which does prove vital if you're looking to buy players because you have to make space for your squad if you want to bring them in, which does make sense because having too big of a squad means you're going to have a massive headache keeping all of them happy. One thing I don't like, however, is with some of the lesser known leagues in the game, such as the Swedish League, you can't actually make offers for those players, which is annoying because it means you don't get 100% freedom inside the transfer market. Imagine if there was a hidden gem among some of these lesser leagues. You can't sign him for your club because the league itself isn't well known. That really sucks. Building a stadium is fun and vital too if you want to include more seats and attract more fans to matches. And this obviously means more revenue for your club, particularly if your team is doing extremely well during the home matches. Building one stand of your stadium does take time, however, but for this demonstration I've included a cheat which allows this to be done in a single day, just to save time and aggro. Player scouting is a pretty handy tool as well if you want to find out about players who you want to bring to your club. You can get your already hired scouts to file reports and bring you back some good or bad points about certain players, and from this you can make a better decision on whether the player you're scouting is right for your club or not. You can also check out other scores as they happen and look at their match reports, which is good when you want to see who's doing well and who's scoring all the goals for their respective teams. Other useful features in the game including a whole host of tools that let you know who's in good form for their respective clubs. You can find out the list of top scorers in their respective divisions, find out who's made the star squad, find out the stats from games you've previously managed, and check out the information about your next match. This can also be helpful if you want to scout top quality players to your squad later on in the game, or find hidden gems as they like to say. So with all of that covered, let's have a look at an actual match. First of all, you get to see a team sheet showing all the players playing for their respective teams. And then you get to see the visual in all its glory. It's not the best looking graphics wise, but sometimes gameplay can triumph over graphics. All you can do here is watch the match as it unfolds. You can stop the game at any time to make substitutions or any changes to your formations and tactics. But if you're happy with what you've got on the pitch, you can just sit back and hopefully watch your team score quality goals. Once the game is over, you can take a look at some of the other matches that have taken place, and as explained earlier, you can look at their respective reports by scrolling over to them using the D-pad. But the best thing about this part of the game is the ability to see actual highlights of your matches. This reminded me a lot of when I used to love watching Match of the Day as a kid, and dreaming about a game where something like this could be possible. This game made those dreams come true. With expert analysis coming from football pundit and former Liverpool defender Alan Hansen, you get to watch key moments of the game as they happened, and you can relive some of those great goals that were scored. Truly, truly amazing. So now that we've taken a look at the first LMA Manager game, let's take a brief look at its counterpart and successor, LMA Manager 2002, and see some of the improvements. As you can see, the game boasts a really good interface when you start up, especially the intro. Like the predecessor, it kicks so much arse. The challenges seen here are as you would expect from before, just set out differently. But the really disappointing thing is that the draw visual that we saw in the previous game is gone from this one, and is replaced with a standard random choosing of team names, which in my own opinion is a real shame because it makes the gaming experience much less realistic. But when you think about all the other improvements they made for the game, it hardly matters to be fair. Some of the improvements they made in this game prior to the older game we saw include a much more elaborate scout report on players. If you compare with this report from the last game, you can clearly tell what I mean. You can also get your scouts to report back to you on the club's next opponent and explain who's doing well for them. Again, much more elaborate than the previous game. Ha! Yep guys, I'm not making this up. I have Gareth Bale as a scout. No joke. Aside from all of that, some of the other features you can do in the game are brought over as well. Making offers for players, searching for players in a shortlist, building your stadium, changing your tactics, and checking out your managerial goals. Some minor but nice differences, including taking a look at the league tables when browsing through the recent score sheets, which looks epic. It looks very similar to an interactive TV service, which is a lovely touch. And as for match day, well, it just looks crazy good. You get a great looking visual showing the teams and the formations before the match starts, and of course a better looking graphical engine when viewing the match itself. A couple of differences here too. You can see the latest goals go in as they happen, and you can even shout at your players with respective commands.
Keep possession!
And not to mention, you get to watch the highlights at the end of the match. Great stuff. So there you have it, two amazing looking managerial games for the PS1. That I believe deserve a lot more praise and replay value. These games are a lot more understandable and much easier to play than some of these other complicated manager games that we see today, particularly on the PC. Well, I hope you enjoyed this review as much as I did making it, and I would like to thank Codemasters for making such wonderful Football Manager games. Please be sure to like my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Google, and take a look at my website at www.chrismodder9.com. Until the next video guys, I shall see you later. Hej då!